Other people can drop in later.
That's right, yeah.
Need be.
Right.
So, okay, thanks everybody. Haley, if you want to hit the next slide and start with some of the housekeeping, please.
Yep, no worries. That Wayne, you've got master control. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm Haley from UNOX office in Melbourne. So I'll be serving as the moderator for today's webinar. So to begin with, I'll take you through some of the housekeeping rules. We request that all participants please remain on mute. This will reduce some of the background noise and improve the overall meeting quality. Please have your camera turned on for the entire webinar. Your mute and video are accessed by your control panel. And this meeting will also be recorded as well. During the meeting, there will be opportunities to ask questions. So you can ask a question by typing it into the chat. We'll notice that there's a question. I'll alert Wayne and then we can answer it a bit later on. And then that's it. So sit back, enjoy. Got an awesome product for you all to see, and I'll hand over to Andrew now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Haley. I'd like to welcome everybody. And for those who don't know me, my name's Andrew Brain. I notice we've got quite a diverse group here, and some maybe for the first time. For those who don't know what the FCSI is, we're made up of about 140 registered members, some who are consultants and some who are allied. So in this case, the allied members are representative of some of the finest products that are either manufactured or imported into the Asia Pacific region. But before kicking off, I'd like to just hand over to Mario, our chair, for a couple of words.
Thanks, Andrew.
Mario, turn on your
Very
mic.
good, unmute, very good, okay. Good stuff. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for that intro. And as you said, we've got 140 members. That's in our Asia Pacific region. We've also got Americas region, which has got about 650 members there, and the Europe region as well. That's got close to 400. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow in Asia Pacific region, because this is the region that's got the biggest development opportunity moving forward in the next decade, I would say. And I just want to say a special thank you to you, Andrew, and to Wayne, being the first one, to UNOX being the first of the allied members to take up this opportunity. It's a new initiative from FCSI, and I want to thank Andrew for his hard work, and I hope you guys will enjoy today's session. Take care. Cheers. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Mario. Today is, like Mario said, the very first of a series of webinars that we're providing predominantly in the absence of being able to go to trade shows. So where normally the allied members would have presentations that have products on display, in this case here, UNOX are the first to take up the chance or the challenge of delivering a presentation. And in the background, we've worked quite hard to make this entertaining as well as informative. One of the things that we've tried to strive on is making sure that these are educational, and hopefully that you'll learn something in relation to what UNOX has to offer, as well as some of the technology in the background. UNOX has been an allied member for over 5 years, and for that we're very grateful. Managing Director of UNOX Australia is Wayne Viles, and he's going to be leading the presentation today. So take it away, Wayne.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. You can see my screen, I'm certain of that, which is the start of the PowerPoint presentation. I just want to give everybody a very brief background on UNOX Australia itself before I launch into what today's all about. And we're a factory-backed business based here in Melbourne. So the UNOX model is that their businesses around the world are basically factory owned and able to transfer the information to market and to manufacture and to distribute products as a direct company rather than some sort of importing model, which there are many different ones. So that's one of the differences about what we do. We are a large oven manufacturer. We only make ovens and those kind of associated products. Combi ovens are our core product, but we also make a massive range of convection, baker top ovens, which are bakery combis, speed ovens, small benchtop convection ovens, and so on. Today, it's all about Evereo and Multiday. Evereo meaning what's come to be known as a hot fridge. Now, this product has been under development for around about, it's a bit over 10 years actually. We started to talk a bit about this product a few years ago when we realised that we could simply put the product into market, but we thought, why not we take our time and have a look at what education needs to take place around hot holding, because there's quite a lot of confusion in the market about what is possible and what's legal, if you like, or what the industry standard might be. However, standards are meant to be challenged, and basically UNOX has always challenged the norm. And by developing a range of products that works in this environment is changing the way we look at food. And today I want to present that to everybody here, and we're very happy to be involved with FCSI for many years, in Europe for a lot longer. In the last few years in particular, thanks to Andrew and Mario, the engagement we're getting from these guys I'm particularly happy about, which is what's driving us to be more and more involved with the FCSI, because I see the energy, I see the opportunities. So thank you guys. I just wanted to put that out there because it's very important from our perspective. So we're going to start the presentation now. We're not going to bore you to death because this is interesting stuff in our opinion, and you will probably either tell us whether you think so or not. So are we ready? There's Mario, Andrew, and myself. If you haven't met me, that's me on the right with my name underneath. This is what we're talking about today. Okay, so Evereo, the hot fridge, is a way of holding food at precise temperatures, and we can guarantee the holding of food anywhere between 60 and 72 degrees. As we know, nothing on Earth lives above 58 degrees, except some spores, which are not developed under temperature. However, the ability to actually hold food at an incredibly precise temperature has been difficult to achieve. What we do is basically using Evereo and Multiday, which is why we're talking about Multiday. The vacuum system or the tray system that the young gentleman was working with there was what we call Multiday. which essentially removes the oxygen from the vessel. The tray and the lid are both sterilised during the cooking procedure. They're removed from the oven and immediately a vacuum is achieved and they're placed directly into a Evereo. Here is a very, very good example of how oxygen affects food. Bananas, it happens very quickly. We're all quite familiar with that. How does it work? It's not pulling condensation into a vacuum pump. And that's the major difference between a hot fill or a hot fill pump or a hot fill vacuum system, is that this has been invented and patented further by UNOX to work with only hot environment. No maintenance and an incredibly simple cleaning operation, which can be carried out within minutes. The benefits? The need for cooling has been eliminated with this system. So we're going straight from the oven. So we're utilising even more so the energy supply, which could be an overnight cooking process when no staff are present, to then come in the morning, pull a vacuum on every one of the trays, place them in a Evereo, and the food is ready to be served at any time. I will show you another video shortly that gives you a little bit more of it. Around 60 seconds is all that's required to remove the oxygen from the tray, depending obviously in the amount of oxygen that's remaining in the tray on top once the lid is put on top of the food. If the tray is quite full, and these are 100 ml gastronomy pans, we also do a half size. Depending on the level, depends on the length of suction the time takes. If a suction is not achieved, this light here turns red and alarms you that nothing has been achieved. Please refit the suction and start again. The multi-day trays, super resistant structure. To me, they feel like the gastronomy trays from 40 years ago when they made real steel. And basically they're a heavy duty tray that maintains its shape, can be cooked in, but also can actually handle a high level of vacuum to make sure that the tray itself doesn't warp, fold, etc. You can see here, we have a hermetic closure lid, silicon gasket, and high performance stainless steel. With this silicon here is built into the tray. So that is molded into the edge of the tray, the lid, so that when it's fitted to the tray itself, it absolutely guarantees suction. We also have, there's half trays, full size, hundreds, 40s, liquid separation. If you wish to have something where you want to keep any moisture that continues to come out of the product during the holding process, that might want to keep separate. If you don't want the product sitting in its own juices, that's fine. And you also have a perforated tray to allow that to go through. This is a little bit further of how it works in our academy.
Wayne, can I ask you a question here?
Sure.
Great presentation. That was Chef Marco, right?
Correct. Yep. Marco Moresco.
Apparently, he was hitting a few buttons there before he put the tray in. What were they parameters that he was setting?
Absolutely. So what Evereo does is allows you to choose what temperature you're putting the product in at. So you saw that he came out of the oven, pulled a vacuum in the tray, and then immediately placed it into Evereo. As you can see on the screen here, that the oven, the hot fridge was sitting at around 69 degrees or 70 degrees. So it's sitting somewhere between 62 and 70 as he's set it. And he's basically placed it in there and picked the temperature at what he added it. So he added it at above 57 degrees because what he was trying to represent that was that we'd done a full overnight cook or a 4-hour braise, whatever it might have been. And then he's able to add it to Evereo at the temperature and tell Evereo what temperature it's sitting at. You'll notice that with the chicken breast that he basically grilled, then he chilled in traditional cooking method, put into a multi-day bag. Now, as a lot of you may know, the most sous vide bags are not designed for extended holding. They have a span of up to maybe 10 hours or something like this. So we've developed a series of bags that have the ability to hold at temperature up to 105 hours. So what he's doing is adding it to Evereo, selecting at 4 degrees. So Evereo will tell you when that tray has had full pasteurization and reached above food safety level.
Okay.
So we know that it's not holding in the danger zone for an extended period of time because the Evereo doesn't allow for that due to its precise temperature. And there will be plenty of documentation that's shared during and after this event, which we have to show everyone how much work and time we've been putting into this. In fact, this all came about through the University of Parma in Italy, which was where a laboratory was set up to discover further about this.
Okay, we got a question from Mary.
Hey, Mary.
Afternoon, Wayne. How are you?
How are you? Lovely to see you.
Yeah, very good. Same here. Wayne, we're going back first of all to the suction.
Yes.
It seemed to be sitting on a specialised plate heating thing or whatever. Is that a specialised counter that stainless steel tray sits on?
It's what it is, Mary, is it's basically the base of the suction unit. And what's in there is all the control boards, etc.
Right, okay, yep.
But it's also connected to, underneath it, we have a built-in air compressor.
Right.
So it's mobile. So I can move to kitchen to kitchen. It requires 2 10-amp power points to run both pieces of equipment. I was in a bulk kitchen or a design situation where I was able to bring air lines into the building. Then I wouldn't actually need the compressor. I would simply connect to the airline and use the compressed air that's coming into the building. There are not many kitchens with compressed air in Australia, but apparently in Europe it's quite popular.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so then once it's been vacuumed and then they went into the holding oven, and that's what Andrew was, that was moving so fast for me. But once you got it into the working program, it was a +10, +1 or whatever. Is that all programmed like a combi oven would say that you cook your chicken at 1 hour at that temperature or whatever? Or does that mean, what do those numbers mean?
They're tray timers, Mary. So each level here
There's
is
that
a tray.
one. Yeah.
Yes. So here we have up to 10 timers per hot fridge, and there are 3 versions of this product. The one that he was loading was what we call a 600, which is 600 deep and 750 wide, so very compact. It uses no more than 3 kilowatts of energy, so it's actually cheaper to run than a fridge.
Yep.
And we have the same version, but 900 deep, 535 wide, and each of them are designed to have a combi oven to match on top of it. There's also a small benchtop unit, which is 1.5 kilowatts. We call it the Cube, and it's 600 square all the way around. So yes, you have 10 timers, depending on the size of the tray and the size, the depth of the tray you're using allows you to decide which timers to use. So the steamed rice went in here, you can see it put a tick on the screen immediately to say, I'm good to go. If you'd like to serve me, you can open and serve. Once you release, excuse me, once you release the vacuum, it's at that point that the 4-hour rule applies, because you've added oxygen to the product. Up to that point, it's quite open-ended, and it's only the texture and the eating quality that changes in the food over time. And each product performs a little bit differently, as you'd expect. But MLA wrote a report which will be provided to you that talks about the use of secondary cuts of meat, and they said that it represents a huge opportunity for Meat and Livestock Australia to develop further by using cheap and secondary cuts, which are currently not used because of the way they perform in traditional cooking.
Wayne, I think Mario put his hand up.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks, Andrew. Yeah, there was quite a few pieces of equipment in there. I noticed there are a couple of combis. There was a blast chiller, and on the bench top, I was going to ask you, mentioned about that being part of the vacuum system, and then you've got the Evereo unit. So Wayne, I suppose if some of our clients have an existing combi oven and blast chiller, if they already have that in their kitchen, and they just want to add the Evereo to their lineup, what are the absolute essential items that they would need to purchase to implement that into their existing production? That's just one. And the second one, if I may, the chef, obviously all the chefs always like their own cooking, you know what I mean? I like him raising his eyebrows and a little smile and a smirk on his face, good on him. But I was just going to say, with food sitting there for 72 hours and things like that, and I know you've got Chef Jens, who's your, obviously gets paid to say everything tastes good, but what independent quality testing have you done to talk about the food with respect to the quality, to validate that the quality after a period of time hasn't suffered?
Well, most of it, the food quality is generally based on the flavors, the tastes that you're experiencing. And we've done a lot of testing with people, just general public, and a broad range of people, to basically test the food based on how they see it. We don't often tell them how old it is until later, because often the mental block that gets in the way of tasting something and going, oh my God, wow. I actually had a gentleman, we're doing a process in Sydney at the moment, and the gentleman rang me and said to me, I just cannot believe what you guys have done. The quality of the food, and people think that I'm serving 5-star food at 3-star prices and I have no waste. The quality is really important, and we work on the quality of food. Jeff Jantz has developed the recipes for the meal me food, but we also from UNOX have supplied a cooking guide in some way that helps people to understand what types of food could go in it. But we're here, Sean's involved here. All of my people understand the process that needs to be gone through to get a clear understanding of how this might work for each business. So to make it work, the short answer is you need an Evereo, somewhere to put it, whether it be 10 amp, 15 amp power. You need no water connection. You need no exhaust, no canopy. So it can be pretty much positioned anywhere. And in fact, one of the questions that I asked many years ago is, let's say in hospitals and aged care, you've got a surgeon who's operating on a brain. He's got the person's head open and he's 8 hours into an operation. He has to have a break, or she has to have a break at some point. What do they go and eat in a hospital or in an environment like that at, let's say, 2 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine having each one of those satellite kitchens holding food that was at such a level that he feels or she feels like they've just come out of a 5-star restaurant and back into the brain. So I digress a little bit, and I'm sorry for that because I get a bit excited because it's such a cutting edge, wonderful opportunity that we have with this product. So
Wayne, can I just pull you up a little bit there, Wayne? Because Larry's got a question, but I think we should probably press on with the presentation.
Sure.
Larry, if you want to type your question in on the side, we've got time at the end for questions.
I'll wait because I've got a few questions. So.
Yeah, no, I understand. This is going to raise a lot of questions from a lot of people, and we respect that. So, do you want to carry on, Wayne, and then we'll open up the room for questions at the end?
Because realistically, if you think about Evereo as being the food temperature preservation, because that's really what it is. There's a document that'll be shared with everybody by a gentleman called Bradley Wardrop Brown here in Melbourne, who has done a lot of work for us considering Evereo and meal me, testing the food that we produce for Evereo. And he was quite shocked by his findings because of how precise this product actually is. In fact, shows over 5 days a variation of 0.1 of a degree of temperature. Not 1 degree, but 0.1 of a degree. So here is the service temperature preserving with trays, where you use a tray, you cook, you pull a vacuum into Evereo, you can plate up and serve immediately. The beautiful thing about it is the service time is reduced enormously to the point where at a restaurant in Italy, they had to actually extend the period of time before the orders hit the kitchen because the customers were suspicious as to why the food could be produced so quickly. Either this is your traditional method, which is much more expensive to operate and much harder to do. In fact, much harder to control, and waste is much more prevalent. Then we're using the multi-day bags. They cook, whether they can cook in the bag up to 120 degrees, 72 hours of holding, plate and serve. And this is similar to basically the meal me operation, which is designed around fully pasteurized food being served at any time. Again here, portion, cooking, chilling, bagging at 4 degrees, and then into Evereo and continuing to serve. The benefits in mostly, the benefits in service time are enormous. The food waste is a problem worldwide. I think it's one of the largest problems in the world. I think we're all quite aware of that. But it also allows for a much wider variety during service times because you can actually have different and more dishes available in smaller containers. And also if you are not using the product, if you are only using a smaller tray, then you use half the product. You still have another tray sitting there as a backup. And if it's not used, it's fine. Leave it there for the following day. And I think about places like racetracks where if they've got a huge event and it rains, what happens to all that food that's been prepared if they have a thunderstorm in the afternoon and half of your clientele turns up? We know what happened during the last couple of lockdowns here, so we know what the waste situation can look like. Here is the real data concerning you'll see here freezer, the cost of running freezers, cost of running refrigeration, and then the kilowatts used in energy with Evereo. These are in dollar terms. Service time, I think we might win there somehow. And here is where bacteria proliferation, given that Evereo sits above the danger zone constantly, whereas we know that nothing in a fridge, we have the opportunity for anything to go off. It's only a matter of look and smell that changes that. Again, the same results here with a pasta product or a lasagna, let's say. Here is red meat. All of this data is coming from the University of Parma, but we also have our own lab tests, which you'll see later on. And a cookbook. This is just to help you along. Now, we've cooked a lot of these dishes and we continue to test. So nice Q&A. This is very common. So if any of your questions sitting in amongst this, is there anything in particular that I can answer for you immediately?
I think Larry had a question, and so does Bill.
I've got a few questions, Wayne.
Yes, Larry.
Just trying to get my head around this, but when I see the guy taking out a tray, breaking the vacuum seal, putting a utensil into that, taking out a portion, he then has to reseal that unit. Meanwhile, he's actually added bacteria and oxygen to that environment. How does that affect the food?
Well, at that point, Larry, if he's opened the vessel, as I said earlier, he has got the standard 4-hour rule, like every other tray or food sitting in a bain-marie, etc.
So that's basically going to apply to all your food, because every time they take an individual portion, that they are breaking the seal. So from that point, instead of having the 72 hours, they've now only got 4 hours. Is that correct?
In that tray, correct.
Yeah.
Only that tray. If everything else remains in Evereo and is sealed, then that is irrelevant. So yes, you're right. If the tools are sterilised and they use it, they can repasteurize and go and pull another vacuum. But in the real world, you and I know that tray, if we limit the size of the portion of food in with compensation to considering the needs of the site, then those trays could be, let's say, in a food court situation, that half pan comes out, goes into a bain-marie, and that's what they draw from. We're not then adding to a bain-marie or replacing. They simply replace the tray once it's empty.
Yeah, because my next question is, from that, I'm looking at slow, low volume turnover. But if I took a mining camp that's going to run 24/7, people coming on in different shifts, etc., right, which can apply, then to do a volume, I'm going to have to take the food out of the Evereo, put it in the bain-marie and treat it like with any other bunch of food. Is that correct?
I missed that last bit, Larry. I'm sorry.
This particular system is at the moment set up for a slow to medium sort of turnover. But if I took a mining camp that's running 24/7 with high volume, and I have, say, 100 people hitting me, well, obviously I'm going to use a bain-marie, so I'll be taking the pan straight out of there into the bain-marie. Then I get the quieter period where you get 1s and 2s and 3s just drifting through. Every time that we break a seal, right, we've got to then put that in the bain-marie, or we've only got a 4-hour window to use it before it's going to be thrown away. Is that correct?
Yes, mate, correct. And it's no different to, say, any other operation that's similar. The other way to control that might be to do more single-serve products to reduce your waste. And most of these mining camps and kitchens and such of that size are set up to actually do that kind of work in some ways anyway, aren't they?
Some are, but
yeah, some are and some aren't, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
my concern is the low volume. Once they've taken a portion out of that unit's now on a 4-hour time zone. Does your software allow for that?
Yes, mate. Yeah, but you can put your timers in. You put another timer in that says, I've got an open timer of 4 hours.
Okay.
You can reset the timer to suit.
You can't can you actually repasteurize, reseal to hold it again?
Yes, but you'd need to go back into an oven to do so. And to bring it up above the what is deemed at 75 degrees or whatever the food safety plan that you've written says, and then you can repasteurize it, reseal it, and take it back into the cabinet.
Okay. That's it.
Thanks, Larry. Does that answer your query there?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
Bill, do you want to unmute? There you go.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Once you've cooked your food and then you put it into the vacuum tray and you seal the vacuum tray, how long can you keep it? And I saw you say there, and I realized later it's written there 72 hours. Is that correct? All foods can stay up to 72 hours, and is that at what temperature?
That's depending on where you've set it, Bill, and depending on the food. So not all foods you would want to be holding for that period. The first product I ate out of this machine was 14 days. So whilst you're doing that, it raises lots of questions in your mind. Because I'm a chef, and it's quite challenging when you're sitting there eating pork ribs that are 14 days sitting at that time 68 degrees. This is very early because I've known about this product for almost 6 years that we've been working on. As a guide, most products at 72 hours are up to 72 hours. We think that, you know, if you're holding for much longer than that, is it the right food? And should you be doing it? Depending on what it is. So there is a lot of variations. There's a lot of testing. There's lots of things that can be done, and we have recommendations for that. And it's no different to, say, sous vide cooking, if you like, because some products in sous vide say to you that they recommend that you can hold in sous vide up to 72 hours, but if you do fish, it says, oh, an hour and 40. Yep. So we actually want to continue. We never stop testing. We're always playing with food and offering opportunities for people to try things.
So in your example, just to understand, you said you cooked ribs, you stored them for 14 days at 68 degrees C, and then you consumed them, opened them and consumed them.
Yeah, I did.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing. In fact, the original documentation I received on this, Bill, there was evidence of eating meat at 10 months. And the only thing that changes is it's perfectly safe. That it changes so much that it became, what do they say? It actually moved into the realms of veganism and tasted like a nutty kind of a different flavour. And that's what the thing that changes in this is. It's always about the texture or the flavour that may change. In most cases, over 72 hours, food gets better. We never cook a curry or a bolognese or anything like that and eat it on the same day because we want that flavour to develop. The Evereo product actually assists in the development. So when you look at something like a secondary cut, or even let's say something like the beef cheek that Marco was doing, after 48 hours, it's incredible. And in fact, we had a gentleman came here, one of Julian and Andrew's clients came to speak with me about a hospital operation and being able to serve a la carte for 300 people, which frightened the hell out of this gentleman. He had a good look at what we were doing, but when he wanted to look at what we were doing, I asked him to come back 2 days in a row. And we ate the same food that we prepared on Monday, we ate it Tuesday, and we ate it Wednesday. Now, they were lamb shanks. Now, the difference between holding in the perfect environment for food versus something like retort, which is guaranteed to kill everything, which is why it can sit on a supermarket shelf in a bag, is that the texture and the connected tissue has not fully collapsed. And so he was very surprised that 24 hours later, the same product looked and tasted probably better, but the meat or the protein hadn't just collapsed and disappeared to the point where the bone comes away and you look like you're eating pulled lamb. So it could still be picked up with a pair of tongs, served beautifully on a bed of mash, and continue on.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing. I think half of these answers that you're giving can only be proven by experience. So I know initially when you came to us, there was all these claims, and I thought, how can Wayne be achieving this? And it's not until we actually go there to the academy and actually start to experience some of these things. I was going to ask Glenn, because he's had years of experience in all sorts of venues, kitchens, and facilities. But I bet you this has sparked a number of questions for you, similar to Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Wayne, great presentation, and just really innovative. I remember when sous vide first came out, and that was just took a long while for the chefs to wrap their head around how this could work. This cooking under vacuum and using water baths and gentle temperature control. And I think this product's on the same wavelength. It's going to change the landscape moving forward. But my question's more around, Wayne, with who you've been talking to and bouncing this product out in the global market is where do you see the most impact? Like, where's the key starting point? Which industry do you think it'll really take and kick off with?
Well, we're already supplying a company that's of cinema. So they're doing luxe dining. One of the problems was that they're not cooking. They've got 16-year-old staff. So they needed to be able to provide high quality food and be able to serve two patrons at the same time, even if I wanted something completely different. Prior to meeting us, what they were doing was ordering from Uber Eats, and they were getting one product from, say, Ribs and Rumps and another product from a dumpling store. How do those two products come together at the same time so that the patrons feel like they're both being served dinner together to enhance the experience? We are working on a product at the moment also, which is a top seal tray for convenience. So we make the product because we have the company Meal Me. The other places that I see it is, if you can imagine the trays that he was doing, let's say the beef cheek there, Glenn. If you were at Melbourne Exhibition Centre and this weekend you've got 1,000 people to feed, do you want to be trying to get all of that out on Saturday, or would you prefer to do 50% of it on a Thursday, allowing the product to continue to develop, keep your staffing at a really manageable level from a cost perspective, and then maybe if you're doing 50-50, maybe you're doing salmon, you could finish the salmon on the Saturday or do the salmon fresh, and then it's a matter of plating up and hitting the tables. 50% of your menu is already done. Would that be something from your experience that could be useful?
Yeah, I think the ability to shift your labour force. So if we're talking weekend penalty rates at, convention centre, for example, but to be able to, have your full-time workers do that, say in the Monday to Friday salary, and then, if it was a Friday, cook hold, and then Sunday when penalty rates are up there, minimise your service crew. That's got real financial implications.
Yeah, exactly. And we think that this can work because we're not trying to solve every problem, but what we're trying to show is components. If you can think about what could the production of components in a kitchen do that would take pressure off staff, quality, because I know aged care, we all want to serve choices. In aged care and hospitals, it's all about choice, particularly with the Royal Commission findings, etc. So how do you do that? At the moment, there's a la minute, and some people are successful and others aren't. And I know it's expensive. We know how difficult it is to run that process and do it successfully. They may not be looking to make money, which most businesses are. However, they may be doing it for non-for-profit or might be just trying to break even. And that's difficult.
Yeah, I think Sean had something to add to that. Sorry to interrupt, Wayne.
No, you're right, mate.
Just add on to, Wayne already explained, the Royal Commission saying that we would not have more choices to the residents in aged care, but it's also alarming the amount of residents that are actually undernourished or malnourished. So again, I think that having this system, the Evereo with the multi-day hot vacuum, is going to have a massive impact for aged care, being able to offer more choices to ensure that the residents are being nourished on a daily basis.
At a time that suits them too, Sean.
Exactly.
Because one of the things that from my perspective, if I was to go into an aged care facility and somebody tried to feed me dinner at 5:30, I'm going to be reasonably upset. Or hungry at 9 o'clock, one of the two.
Can I jump in? There's a lot around aged care, and I'm not going to go into it now because there's too many things to discuss.
I know.
And it's not only catering staff, it's a whole place. So that's another story. Wayne and Sean, on that matter, because of aged care, healthcare, because of them being the highest risk people out, convincing not only the catering staff and the facility managers and so on, but it's also around the food auditors and the food and health and the environmental health officers that our food safety programs have to change and so on from there. What have you done to probably educate and bring online the health and authorities and the environmental health officers and the auditors that would be overseeing these programs?
Sean, you might like to speak about Anglican care, please, from your experiences there.
So just going back to something Glenn mentioned earlier about, when sous vide cooking came in, it was challenging for people to get their head around the process. How can it be done? Why can it be done? So with sous vide cooking, you have a supplement in your food safety plan that explains the process. We have a few aged care providers that are doing exactly the same thing. So they've rewritten their food safety plan around the process that they have with Evereo, and the health officers, they seem to be happy with that system. Wayne's been doing some work with Bradley too. Wayne, if you want to maybe elaborate on that, mate.
I think, Mary, you know Bradley Woodrup Brown.
Yeah.
Yep. Bradley's done about 2 months of testing.
Right, yep.
He tried to abuse this machine. He wanted to do two things: test the food that MealMe was making, one, but secondly, to try to abuse the machine. Now, in one of the documents that's provided here, which is the BOI final testing results, he put 14 kilos of lasagna into a 1.5 kilowatt machine, jammed it full, tried everything to block the fans, to stop the airflow, and just was quite shocked at what the results were. In fact, the length of time that it took to reach temperature, and then the movement and the non-movement of temperature over a period of 5 days was quite astounding, because he's never seen anything that actually held temperature so precisely. Okay. And we think that's a big part of it. As you know, Mary, you and I have talked about this for the past 4 years, I think, or more.
Yeah.
And when we first started to provoke people a little bit, because you were one of our targets, if you recall, we tried hard to provoke you, and you know how we operate our trade shows, etc., and we're very safe, etc. And then we took you into a dark room and said, have a look at this. And you had a lot of questions, and you still will have. And I agree that this is challenging. And so our goal is to continue to work closely with people to achieve their goals. And we will do it, because we're already proving it in a number of different areas here through our testing, and the MealMe side of things. It's quite incredible what we've done, and now the continued development of that range of product is helpful for the market. But Evereo has many different uses. I recently saw testing from a small crumbed or fried chicken company that starts in K and ends in C in France, where they were able to use the super holding mode to extend their holding times and the quality of their food for up to 6 hours. Now, the reason, and the 2 4-hour rule, which I understand reasonably clearly, although it moves around a little bit, the fact is that the 4-hour rule says that food held in the danger zone for 4 hours needs to be thrown. We don't hold anything in the danger zone ever. We come through the danger zone like every other style of cooking if you're coming from 0 or 4 degrees. But if you're coming straight from the oven, you're already out of the danger zone, and we're putting product into basically a suspension.
So Wayne, on that, then that to me, and I don't want to hog the questions either, but that to me is something a bit like what Glenn was saying earlier with sous vide, that we now have to not only educate chefs and so on, which is what you're doing today, and that's great, but it's also now our health authority, EHOs, and also the food auditors, because unless they actually understand it, then they won't accept it, if that makes sense. So it's so it's just a bit of a road journey there, but I know we've discussed that before. So that'd be my comment from there, and I'll let others ask questions. I don't want to
and I appreciate that, Mary, which is why we went down the track with Bradley.
Yeah.
Really wanted, because you know, he's got a high level of knowledge and he's well respected. And basically, I wanted him to do the test without anything to do with us, which he did. We weren't even there. And
I think, Wayne,
yes, mate.
Thanks, mate. At this point, I think everybody, if you'd like to turn your cameras on and your mics and just open it up generally to the room.
And I'll stop sharing.
To get everybody's input, but I did see Glenn just put his hand up. Do you want to say, go, mate?
Yeah. Thanks there, Andrew. Just to Mary's point there, what I think is really exciting for the members here is to be yet again market leaders when you're out speaking with your clients and be those real experts in the space. That yes, you absolutely are educating those, because you're running so far in advance. You're not necessarily talking direct operational. You're talking in the future. This is what we'll be looking like. And I think to be at the forefront of that only puts you as an operator in good stead, having direct access to Wayne and his technology.
Yeah.
Thanks, Glenn. And that's what we're here to do. We want to engage. If you want us to if you think that we should be talking to this person, that person, Mary, you know me, tell me who it is. I'll get in front of
the other advantage here too is, and I'm not here to promote or say otherwise, other than there is technical data and test results that Hayley has been putting up on the site there. So they're there. If you click on it, you can download the MLA report. You can get Bradley Woodrock Brown's report. Plus, I'm pretty sure you send Wayne an email, he'll email you every single report. So I think while these things are new and on the edge of breaking the rules, nothing moves forward without testing, proving, failing, proving, testing and succeeding. So
that's right.
You know, all those sorts of things are going to be through the process before anyone accepts that this is a viable solution other than those we already have.
One of the results in Bradley's document is using a Korean sauce with a sliced pork or beef. Now, the plate counts were off the scale because that had a fermented yeast or a fermented, some sort of something in there that was fermented that did that. So not knowing it wasn't never going to hurt anybody, but it just developed. And so it's about understanding what works and what doesn't. And as we've said from the beginning, we don't expect you to think that this is a magic box, which is why we've spent the past 4 years going this way. Because I could have easily thrown the product out there and gone, go hard, everyone, good luck. But we've done it so carefully and consultatively that we also wanted to create Meal Me because I thought it would be a good idea to have the right food. Because there's a little company called Hoover that's looking at the taking the domestic brand and creating a domestic product, in fact, which I've already seen. Now, HelloFresh and Marley Spoon are wonderful ideas. You've still got to cook. And Glenn, you know, there are people out there that can't, no matter what's in front of them.
Or don't want to.
Or there's Larry. Yeah, have had their turn. Am I right, Larry?
I've well and truly had my turn.
Yeah, there you go. So
cold baked beans out of a tin look good.
There you go, mate. Imagine getting a weekly delivery and saying, well, kids, what do you want for dinner tonight? And being able to have, okay, I want beef cheek, but my wife doesn't eat that. So she might have a chicken, Sri Lankan chicken curry.
I've got a couple more questions for you, Wayne.
Yes, mate.
pasta, starch products, how does it go? And second question is, obviously taste is believing, so if so, when and how?
Taste, I know, Larry, that's high on your agenda as always from when I was apprenticed there or when I was a young bloke. It was one of the things that was always important to you. I can arrange for that. I can have it sent to you. You can taste everything in the Fortitude Valley if you'd like. What's close to you? And they'll let you out of your house after a long 3 days, I'm afraid. That's not hard to achieve. I can quite easily do that. Yeah. Secondly, sorry, the first part of the question was again, mate, sorry?
Pasta and starch type products.
Starches, rice is incredible because we're all quite aware of the volatility of rice. Under the way rice is held in Evereo, we just cannot believe the results we get. Pasta, being a flour-based product, has a short lifespan unless it's coated. So if you coat it in a tomato or let's say a passata or a Napoli or something, you'll extend the life of it. But if it's just plain penne pasta, then you probably got like 12 hours, thereabouts.
Is that the same with mashed potato and things like that too? Or
exactly,
roast?
yeah. Depending on the mash, Mary.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
We use, at the moment, we're currently using a product that comes from Holland that does no dairy or anything in it. And basically, excuse me, we basically pack it, remove all the oxygen, and I've held that product for 48 hours and maintained great colour. As somebody said to me the other day, a very well-known chef here in Melbourne said to me, that mash is incredible because all I did was took it out. So if it was plain, pure potato with just seasoning, you then remove it from Evereo. That's when you add your butter, or you might want to add some truffle oil or whatever it is that you want to do to that product to finish. That's how you then, and then you plate it up.
Sorry, Wayne, quick comment. Thanks, it all sounds very interesting so far. I'm also thinking of our members in Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, and some of them have, have joined our webinar today. I know you have set up, some of these equipment in the different states. I know you got some in WA now in Perth, because I think the proof's in the pudding now, because as a lot of the questions are, we've had the theory side of it. Some of them would actually like to test it and taste it and, actually experience it. And I know you're offering that, that amenity in each of the states. Is that what's happening in Asia and like, the bigger places, Singapore, Malaysia, whatever, if someone wants to try this product? And the other question was also, how does it lend itself to Asian style cooking? You mentioned dumplings and, stir fries and things like that. How do they travel?
Well, thanks, Mario. At the moment, we've just recently went through what they call the process of Evereo 3.0, because we're at 2.0 at the moment. They're now looking at development for wider markets and different purposes, because our engineering department in R&D, we have over 48 people in R&D alone. And they've said to us, what do you want it to look like? Because we know the technology. We've now started to work with there's a company called Penguin in Italy that makes lockers. And we're starting to work with them using Evereo technology, because Evereo technology is what's inside Evereo, which is basically driving the thing. We're looking to build lockers where they may be in a DC centre where your meal arrives tonight for your lunch tomorrow and it's loaded in. In Asia, they've started the process, and I can introduce the guys to, and in fact, some of your guys should know Sue in Kuala Lumpur, where our office is. Okay. And we have someone in Singapore, but if the guys there want a connection with anybody there, I'm more than happy to lead them in the right direction. Around the country here, we're happy to work with you. In fact, Mario, your lunch tomorrow arrived in Perth today.
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
Because I spoke to Adam an hour ago and said, mate, there's a flight arrived in Perth Airport and there is 12 kilos of food in it. Go and get it, because he's presenting to a client tomorrow, or Thursday, actually. So I know he also wants to take that opportunity for you to have a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important for you to see what we've created, because I think once you tasted it and looked at it, I think you're just going to go, oh my God.
Fair enough. No, very good.
And the same for anybody that's in this meeting. If you're across the country.
Excellent. Are we going for time, Andrew? And are we anything else before we wrap up?
No, I was just going to leave it open for anyone else who had any more specific questions. After this, we do have a Survey Monkey that's going out as a question with basically, does anybody else have any?
You might have a question.
Are there any? Do you want us to send you any information, mail it, that sort of thing, and we'll get in touch with those people directly. So we're always interested to hear what people's opinions are, even if you're not necessarily interested in either stating it here. We can have a follow-up afterwards. And obviously there are a lot of sensitive technical and legal issues that are probably need to be addressed. So especially when it comes to, say, as Mary was saying, I'm going to catch up with Bill later this afternoon. He's obviously got a few questions that he wants to put to us as well. So look, I think everybody, the whole point of this is really to provide UNOX with the opportunity to field questions, put the product out there, and start to generate interest. No doubt you're going to see Wayne at the food shows and the trade shows coming up. And at that point, be prepared, because I guarantee there's going to be a lot of product that's going to be handed out. Most of the time people go to these trade shows wanting to take as much food as they can. In this case, it's probably going to be throwing it at you. So
yeah, no, we're very selective, Andrew. In fact, if anyone recalls the Meal Me stand at the Melbourne show 2 years ago, where people would come and sit at the counter like they were waiting at a cafe, and I'd say, now, who are you and what do you do? Yeah. And they would say, oh, I'm just here with my husband. I don't give a damn about your food, but I'm hungry. And I'd say, well, it's time for you to move on. Because we actually want to engage with the right people. Hey, Richard, you've got your hand up.
I do. Thank you for that. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. I just wanted to share something as well, just from a bit of an outsider's point of view as well. As most people here know, food is very important. And I guess just like everyone here, we're all quite lucky and we're privileged to eat out at different venues and that sort of thing. Over the last few years, we've been fortunate enough to work with Wayne on this, and also fortunate enough to eat a lot of products out of Evereo. I'd like to say that I'm still here, I'm still alive, and I don't think there's been any permanent damage, and the food has been absolutely stunning. I guess it's just one of those new technologies that as soon as you can understand what it can do, it's then up to you to work out how it can work for your business and for your clients. I think a lot of people over time have discovered different food delivery system options, different ways to prepare food, portion control, that cook chill cycle, whereas this here is a different process. And just like everyone said earlier today, that there are lots of questions around the technology and that sort of thing. However, the science is there, the product tastes good, and it's also up to your creativity as well to what you would like to do and how you can implement it. The solution may not be for everyone as a full replacement, but I think that there's definitely elements that people can take for different things. It may be as simple as dietary requirements. It may be as simple as just not being able to have chefs around, wage issues, labour shortages, and that sort of thing. We've done events here, and Andrew, I hate to say it, but you've also eaten out of it. You might not have known about it, but you've eaten food from it, and you probably wouldn't have even noticed. It's in the presentation. It's in the way that you can actually add value to your clients. And I think, as you said earlier, Andrew, it's really good that these events can happen because it allows everyone here to understand better the technology, which allows you to be the forefront of the industry as well. So I just wanted to say that. So,
I just have one more question.
Okay, go for it, Larry.
Wayne, with your Meal Me,
yes, mate.
That's coming out individual portions going into your hot fridge, is that correct?
Yeah, individuals and up to 1.2 kilo packs.
Okay.
Because some of the supermarkets have asked us about being able to decant into a small bain-marie, or they might have a decorative hot plate with a little clay pots, and they want to add high quality meals but can't actually produce them on site.
Mm-hmm.
So they're either buying from a third party, which is no different to MealMe. However, with MealMe, the way that we produce and the quality, etc., is far beyond that of what we're seeing out there at the moment.
So with your MealMe, you're actually sending it out chilled or frozen?
We can do both. We can do whatever required or suits you, because all of or 90% of the food has got 30 days shelf life chilled, and obviously 12 months frozen. So the process from frozen is to simply receive frozen, decant like into your fridge, let it draw down properly, add it to Evereo tonight, and you're ready to go for the whole of tomorrow. Because the 6 hours, we suggest 6 hours of pasteurization, 2 hours of continuous pasteurization. So after 8 hours, everything that's in that cabinet has reached service temperature thoroughly, and it's already safe anyway. You can eat it cold.
I might have to break my goal and all do a trip to Melbourne.
Beg your pardon?
I might have to break my goal and all do a trip to Melbourne.
Oh, no, we will come to you. Larry, it's okay. You be comfortable. It's okay. We're quite happy to come to you, mate. We can easily make it happen. I did it a few weeks ago in Brisbane, but I came back from a meeting with the armed forces. Yeah. The Army actually asked me to go to Townsville. I think you and I have chat about this.
Yeah.
They asked me to come and have a look at what they're doing. Do you know in their ration packs that they have a green curry, and they're not allowed to open it in the dark because it gives away their position because it glows. I actually thought he was joking, but he wasn't.
I was doing that 40 years ago when I was in the Army.
At this point, I'd say we don't have to wrap it up, but for anyone who's needing to head off and attend to the rest of their business day, I'd like to say thanks very much for everybody attending. Great presentation, Wayne, and I love the fact that everybody's asking these challenging questions. We'll leave it open for probably another 15 minutes for everybody to continue the banter and the chat, because realising that while Queensland's just gone into, or locally in Brisbane's gone into another lockdown, the actual opportunities to get together is still challenging. But look forward to seeing this product in the shows and sampling more of the product. Hayley, thank you very much for your efforts in the background.
Thanks, Hayley. Thank you. Done a great job.
Hayley did most of the editing and the filming and documenting, so well done. I think that's been really really great, and especially the second video, really informative. I saw that we had Stephen Kelly here earlier. I don't know if he's still on the line, but thanks very much for coming, Stephen. I know you haven't been well recently. But I don't want to necessarily single out everybody who attended, but just like to say thank you very much for everybody who has. So hopefully you've learnt something. If not learnt, challenged yourself to a different way of thinking or approaching. So thanks very much. But this is by no means everybody go home and leave it, but thank you for coming.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for that opportunity, and thank you, Hayley, for all your hard work. You've done a great job, as always.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and please grab the information that's been shared from Hayley. If you need anything, let us know, because we're here to inform, which is why the FCSI and why I was very keen to jump on board, because it's about information. And if you're only finding out about this information through third party or whatever, it's important to go to the right end of the horse, as I say. That's part of what we do.
Andrew, I've got one thing to say. I really appreciate what FSCI is now doing. We're moving forward in a very positive direction. These things are very good.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you.
Well done, guys. That's what's driving me too, Larry. I think you and I had a brief chat about it, the fact that the landscape in this space has changed. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it really has. Made a huge difference. and it keeps me in a rip-free zone. I love it.
All right, guys, thank you. I just want to say a special thanks to Andrew for driving this webinar. Thanks, Andrew. You did a great job. And just to let everyone know, and I know, it's good to know that CSI is, being a little more active. And as you know, this year we've also launched each of the members, the professional members, to put their projects forward. You know what I mean? We're having a project excellence thing for each of the professional members to get into that and showcase their project. And of course, the allied members, this monthly seminar that we're committed to now, and UNOX is the first one. We've got a couple more already booked, and so that's fantastic. So a couple of new initiatives working well, and it can only succeed and progress with your involvement, and we thank you for that.
One of the things thank you, mate. One of the things I will point out is I've had a number of opportunities to put this product in front of awards things and so forth. We had one, I got it in front of something, I can't remember what it was. I think it was FSIA, and a point of sale system one, which I didn't think was very innovative somehow, but that's okay because it's a selfish skill. But we've twice won the Kitchen Innovation Awards in the US for 2 years running now with Evereo, and they haven't really started selling the product there. It's because the FS, what's it called? The certification body in the US, Mario, what's it called?
Was it the USDA or US?
Yeah, F something or other, I can't remember what it is.
NSF.
NFS, that's right, Bill, thank you.
NSF.
Yeah.
They're very thorough and very, very interesting in how they do things, even though considering they rub sticks together to cook in the US, as we know. But the difference being that they have done so much work on studying this product before it was even launched, that it won these awards 2 years running. And my son's a director of sales in the US, and I said to him yesterday, so what's happening with the Evereo? And he goes, oh, we haven't started selling it. We're just provoking the market like you did, because they took the same approach that we did. They probably could have screwed it up properly if they'd have thrown it into the market, which we may well have done here. But all of this process that we've been going through was to really get it in front of chefs first, because we wanted chefs to understand. And people like Peter Wright, who's very well known, looked at me for 3 days in a row and walked past me and shook his head and said, you've just changed everything I was taught. So why did you do that to me?
Yeah, don't make my life hard. Don't challenge me.
Yeah, I mean, he's very good because he wants to know about innovation. And, when you think about the type of work that he does, which is events with sporting events, major events where he's got to find food for 10,000 athletes. And I think, Glenn, you're pretty familiar with what he does. Adam Moore, you're hanging around in the background there somewhere, aren't you, Maury? Adam?
He might have dropped off.
No, there he is.
No, I'm still here, Wayne.
Yep. Hello,
I was
handsome.
on mute. How are you, beautiful?
Good, mate. Thank you. So, I mean, people like these guys and Glenn, these are the people that we tried to show first. Adam, you saw the hot fridge a couple of years back, 3 years ago, I think.
The most phenomenal thing, and it's definitely going to revolutionise the food world.
If you have a look at the paper that
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, well, look at what MLA wrote. Now, they commissioned and paid for that paper on their own. And they say that the Evereo has the opportunity for $380 million in increased red meat sales.